here's a virtual ID table for April. As I'm sure you guys realize, the morels should be coming up soon, and we should be looking to hold some forays in the near future. In fact, we'll probably have something this weekend. All right. First up, this was submitted by Rick. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the notifications for the forays we've been having, lichen and tree ID. Well, this fits right in there. I'm not sure if you found this on one of those forays, but it's certainly a nice, relatively easy to identify lichen. It's Umbilicaria mammulata. They call it rock tripe, smooth rock tripe. There's quite a few different types of rock tripe, and the Umbilicaria is talking about its connection to the rock, and so it has one connection point, and so that's your little umbilica there. And mammulata is talking about the backside, which is kind of rough and bumpy. It tends to have a lighter top surface and a pretty black underside, and it kind of just hangs on to rocks. It is actually edible. I think it takes some processing to get to where it would be tender enough to eat. I don't know that I'd want to try it. Anyway, next up, another from Rick, not a mushroom, but certainly relevant. I'm sure everybody's seen this. It is a macrofungi, because you can see it with your eyes. This is probably Penicillium digitatum or green citrus mold. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have ever pulled something like this out of your little bowl or basket of oranges and been like, this thing's covered with mold. Why isn't it all over everything? Why aren't these spores jumping off and falling on and spreading to all the rest of the bowl? It's just all isolated to one fruit. Well, the green citrus mold actually doesn't really have the ability to penetrate. It needs a wound to find. The blue citrus mold, which I believe is Penicillium italicum, I believe, that actually has compounds that will soften the outside of the fruit, and it actually can spread. So if you have the blue citrus mold, it could spread to the rest of them. But I always wondered, pulling an orange out that's covered with this stuff is why isn't this growing on everything? Well, apparently it doesn't really have the capability to do that. All right, another from Rick. This one's relatively common and pretty distinct. I believe this is Spongipellis pachyodon. They may have changed the name now. One thing I did notice is it causes a white heart rot. It is a parasite. So I wonder if that's going to damage his tree over time. It tends to have more toothy undersurface, so it's not pores. Sometimes it grows larger caps that are kind of spongy on the top, hence the name. And it grows in overlapping clusters usually. So sometimes you'll see huge chunks of it. All right, this is kind of a harbinger of spring. This is a pretty common mushroom we see growing in spring. You can find it throughout the year. This is Caprinus micaceus. This is a mica cap. Kind of tough to tell on these. They might be getting a little older. These are one of the ones that deliquesce over time. They have black spores. They grow in little cespitous grouped clusters like this, growing from buried wood usually, or some old next to a stump or some rotted roots. They are edible. Not necessarily worth it because it's kind of hard to get enough to really have a meal. All right, David Lee found these a couple of months ago. You can see it's vaguely oyster shaped, but it's got this orange coloration and this fuzzy top, and it also has orange gills. Well, that's why they call this one the orange mock oyster, or Philotopsis nidulans. One thing is for sure, if you were to find this and give it a whiff, you would immediately know it's not an oyster because it almost has like a coal tar smell to it, or sewer gas or something along that. This is one that's quite fragrant and not very good. He also found these two clusters, which looked to me like Pleurotus ostriatus. He said that they were cut. So he was pre-hunted in this area. I believe he said he was up in Pennsylvania for foraging. And he said these were frozen solid as well. So these look like your typical fall, winter oysters. They're looking pretty rough at this point. And this next one that he found, he was definitely pre-hunted. So you can see these are growing on a birch tree. And somebody's come in with a saw and hacked this off. So this is actually chaga, or Inonotus obliquus. So this is actually a medicinal. People will dry it and grind it up and use it as a tea, or capsule it or whatever. It's typically only found on birch. And so we don't really see it in this area, but somebody was definitely prepared because they really hacked this stuff off. I've heard people can go in with a hatchet or something. These people had some sort of hacksaw ready to go. All right, so April Thompson just got back from a trip from Belize, so these may be a little different than what, you know, the climate's certainly different. But the mushrooms look like there's something we would see around here in general, at least what she was finding. So I suspect this is probably just one of your Ganodermas. It's not necessarily varnished because it's probably getting older. You can see it's got some age going on it. So I suspect that's like one of the Ganoderma species, but I'm not too sure. We can certainly find this one around here. So this is the thick maize polypore, or Daedalea corsina. Daedalea is referring to Daedalus, who is the designer of the labyrinth that held the Minotaur, and so that's where they got that name for the maize type gills. This grows on oak usually. This corsina, that's the genus. Quercus is the genus of oak, but you can find it on other things, and you can see it's got very, very thick maze-like gills, or pores, because it's actually a polypore. It's not a true gilled mushroom. These are elongated pores. All right, she also found this guy, which has pretty classic agaricus features. You've got this free gills. You've got these chocolate spore color to the gills. It's got a ring on the stem. I'm not sure which one, but it's clearly some agaricus species. She also found these two. Here's one that we find around here. This is one of your Pycnoporus, Cinnabarinus, sanguineus. I believe they've moved it to Trametes. But this is your cinnabar polypore growing on wood. This other guy, I'm not sure. It almost looks like it's trying to be a Hericium, but maybe it's a slime mold. You know, not having scale and knowing what size it is. And this undersurface, it kind of is looking a little slime moldy to me, but if it's bigger, it might just be a young Hericium. Also, you know, the climate, depending on how cool it was there.
They were about yay big, and there were several of them, because at first I was like, oh wow, it looks like a baby Hericium.
It does. It's probably one of the slime molds. That's my guess, but I'm not sure. Did you touch it?
Yeah, it was very waterlogged.
Gooey.
It definitely had what you call it, like Hericium. What was I trying to say?
Fleshy? I don't know.
No, I mean, when torn apart, it had like not
Oh,
tentacles,
it was fibrous.
toothy.
Okay, so maybe it is just a little tiny Hericium just emerging. Could
But
be.
there were several of them that were all like that size. So yeah. But
They could just be starting. Just was it cool there?
Jacob's chiming in the chat and saying Postia.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, maybe so.
it was 80 degrees. So
Oh yeah, that's a little warm. So Hericium usually likes it kind of chilly. But yeah, like Jacob said, maybe a postia. I don't know. It's hard to. I'm not too sure. Who knows? Anyway, kind of cool. All right, and a beautiful sign of spring. You got your spring beauties. Elizabeth Hargrave posted this one, and Megan was just talking about a Puccinia. This is Puccinia mariae-wilsoniae, which is the spring beauty rust. I'm not sure of its life cycle, but you can see where the little ruptures are happening. That's releasing the spores. An interesting thing I just found out about this is apparently there's a couple of different colors. Usually you can get kind of like a pinkish or reddish spring beauties, and then you've got some that are kind of whitish. Well, the whitish ones tend to have compounds that deter predation. So you got slugs going around, and they don't tend to like to eat the white ones. So they eat all the little red and pink flowers, which if there's a whole lot of slugs, you're going to reduce the seed population of the pink ones, and you're going to have a lot. So why aren't there more white spring beauties than red ones? Well, apparently this rust prefers growing on the white variety. And so if you've got a huge collection of the white variety, this rust will go, and that will tamp down the numbers of the white seed producers, and you're going to get a higher percentage of your pink red ones. And so you've got this kind of dueling selectivity in the wild. Like, this is why you kind of still have your reddish pink flowers and your white varieties out in the wild. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, that's it. We didn't have a whole lot. I didn't find these yet. I'm putting these up here just so you can get your eyes used to them. And as you can see at the bottom, I've suggested to folks, especially if you're new to hunting morels, Google morel or morels or black morel or yellow morel, and look at images and just kind of scroll through and look at big ones and small ones and far away and close, just to start having your brain learn that pattern recognition. So where when you do go out in the woods, they might pop out better for you. So anyway, just a suggestion, it may help. Who knows? But we are going to have some forays soon. I'm going to be gone part of the year, but we have plenty of identifiers and people who can help forage and on the forays. And so we should have one this coming weekend. And then usually when we really know things are happening, sometimes we'll even have 2 a weekend. One each day. Sometimes we might have the same day split at different parks. But anyway, keep your eyes open. They've got that events on the landing page. So even if you didn't see the notification, you can always go see what forays are coming up. If the event is already planned in there, you can go to the website, and there you'll see all the future events if they're scheduled. Anyway, thanks for the submissions, and I hope to see you guys out there soon, and take care.
Thanks, Mitch. That was great. I am the member of a couple of local Facebook groups for mushrooms, and people are just starting to post pictures of tiny little morels. They're definitely up, but not in abundance yet. So I think this weekend is perfect timing. I will turn it over to our programs chair, John Harper, to introduce our main speaker for tonight.